So in the last class, we are checking some outliers that are being available for us. So what are these outliers? So these outliers are just your leverage points and uh, these influential points. So what are these the leverage points? So these leverage points are those points which are having unusual x coordinate. And what are these influential points? These influential points are just those are having some unusual x coordinate, and as well as the value of y is again unusual. So we can say that these two are certainly your outliers, and when considering all these points, we can say that it can change your fitted line. Let's say, again checking this example right from this point. So let's say your point, uh, if we are not considering, let's say, point A and point B, so this right from this point A to from this point to this point, we are having a fitted line, and this lines fits very well, and it covers all those points very well, and we are having some significant values for our f test and t test. Fine. Now again we are considering, let's say this is A, so this is just your leverage point. So when we are considering this A, so it changes your fitted line to something like this red line, and this leverage point usually occurs on your particular new fitted line. And the difference between your leverage point and your influential point is that your outlier or the influential point, sorry, leverage point always lies on your new fitted line, where in case of your leverage point, sorry, influential point, your point does not lie on the fitted line. So this is how your fitted line changes, or your outliers affects your result with this influential points and your leverage points. So uh, when we are considering this leverage point and the influential point, so these points are usually not a general trends of our observation. These are usually outliers. So therefore it has some noticeable impact on your model coefficients. That is, if you are changing, if you are having different model coefficients, then you are having a different line. Instead of this line, you can have this line or this line. So it is just because of your different model coefficients that are being available. So again, then we'll go for some hat matrices available. So what are these hat matrices? So we are considering again residuals here, and we'll check what are the different residuals and what are the effects of residual on your points. So usually this is not in syllabus, but we have to look at what is the effect of this hat matrix on the different types of residual, because we are going to look what are different types of residuals and what are the effects on your usually model assumption, and how we can check our model is good when we are having this residual plots. So in your multiple linear regression, your function is just like y equals to x beta plus some error, and this and the variance of this error is just sigma square. So this is my constant error. In addition to that, I added an identity matrix over here. So this is my identity matrix IN. So this is then just an identity matrix. So this contains lots of zeros, and one a diagonal element contains 1. So again, when we are trying to estimate our beta hat, so we are getting, or we are predicting our new model. So this is estimated beta hat is just your x transpose x inverse into x transpose and y, and we consider this is that this x transpose x is usually your non-singular matrix. So when it is non-singular, it means that inverse of this matrix exists. Fine. So our fitted line is just equals to y hat, or fitted y is equals to y hat x beta hat. X is not predicted because these are the observations that are available. So I am just placing the value of beta hat over here. So this is x into x transpose x inverse into x transpose y. So in short way, I can say that this I can replace this x as h. So this is h, and we can say that this h is your hat matrix, because it is just providing your inverse and the transpose values available. So this is how this is your hat matrix. So what it means, this hat matrix is this hat matrix H converts your y to your estimated y, or we can say that your estimated y. So it provides an hat on your y. So this is why it is known as hat matrix, because when we multiply your hat matrix to your original y, you will get your new estimated y. So that's why we'll call this as a hat matrix. And what are the items of this hat matrix? So it contains h11, h12, and so on. So this is your hat matrix, that is x into x transpose x whole inverse, then x transpose. This is your hat matrix. And what is the major properties or the salient features of this hat matrix? Are this hat matrix is usually symmetric in nature. So when we are getting the transpose of h, again we get our original H matrix. So this is unsymmetric in nature, and this is H is an idempotent matrix. That means that even we are going from H square or H cube and H to the power 4 and so on, again you will get only the H available here. So instead of H square H cube, again it gives you a single H matrix, so your value doesn't change over here. So this is just a proof when you are going from H square, so we are multiplying H square into H. So H square is just H into H, so I'll write here value of H. So this is H into X transpose X inverse whole inverse to the X transpose into again the value of X. So this X transpose X and multiplied by this X transpose X, so I can cancel out this X transpose X inverse into X transpose X. So we'll get X into X transpose X inverse and into X transpose. So this is my H. So when we are going from any power multiplication, you will get this H again. So this is some major properties of your value. Now we are going to calculate a residual. So what are these residuals? So this residual is your y minus the estimated y, or we can replace this estimated y by y minus hy. So what we'll get? We'll get I minus hy. So this is identity minus h into y is your residual. So again solving this I minus h into y, I can replace iy by your x beta plus epsilon. So on solving, what we'll get? Well, we get the residual is equals to I minus h into some error. So this is how we can get, instead of having y, we can calculate this residual is identity minus. So identity minus your hat matrix, so it gives you the value of residual. So instead of calculating all those y, you can just have the error values available here, and you can multiply all those values by subtracting your hat matrix right from your identity matrix. Again, when we are going for this covariance and variance, so again this covariance variance of this residual is just equals to your uh, I minus h into sigma square I into I minus h. So this is how you will get, this is sigma square into I minus h whole square. So when we are considering this, h is in your idempotent matrix. So when h is idempotent matrix, so 1 minus h is again idempotent matrix. So instead of giving I minus h whole square, we can write this is I minus h. So this is how we can say that this is an the variance of your particular value is sigma square into 1 minus h, or a particular ith value or residual of particular ith value. So I can write this as I minus 1 minus hii. So hi is just your diagonal element of your particular hat matrix. And again, when we are going for covariance, so this is just equals to minus sigma square of hij. So instead of going for diagonal elements, so this value is just your non-diagonal elements. Fine. So this is how we can calculate your hat matrix, and then we are going to calculate our residuals. So we are having different types of residuals that are being available for us. So this is my residual. So this is my scaled residual. So we are having some scaled residuals. Why we are going for scaled residuals? Because we like to normalize all those residuals. So in some general sense. So in case of we are having two types of residuals, three types of residuals that are being available. First is scaled residual, second one is your standardized residual, and third one is praise residual. So instead of going into deep details, I'm not going for in much detail for scaled residual, because this is not in your syllabus. So I'm just moving right to the your residual plots. So this is our residual plots that are being available. So if you are comfortable, and when we developed this MLR code for our program, let's say हमने कहीं ना कहीं बनाया था, let's say this is my MLR multiple linear regression, that we had gone for this normal probability plots and so on. So I'm just moving back. So this is my residual plots that are being available. So this is my one line plot. This is my residual plots. अगर आपने कभी check करा होगा, these are my residual plots and these are my residual plots. So right from this residual plots, we can calculate that our data is right or not, or our assumptions are right or not. So these residual plots are usually used to check whether our assumption is that our error has expectation of zero mean, and these are each residuals are each errors are identity identity or uh, independent and identical distributed, and these are distributed with some normal distribution with mean and some constant variance. So what is the mean of this particular error is 0, and the expectation of this error is just sigma square. So this is how we can say that we can assume, or we can check whether our assumptions or our model assumptions are right or not. So again we'll start with our a normal probability plot. So this is used to check your assumptions where your errors are independent and identically distributed with normally distributed with your zero mean and some constant sigma square. So again we are going from our residual. So let's say this E1, E2 and up to En are usually n residuals that are being available, and let's say these residuals are having some value. So I just uh, arrange all these residuals in their increasing order. So let's say this E2 has the smallest value, so it comes first. So I'm just putting a square bracket over here, so it signifies that this is the smallest value of residual, then another value and so on. So I'm just sorting out in increasing order of this residuals. Now we like to plot the cumulative probability of our residual. So what is the cumulative probability of our residuals is just pi is equals to 1 minus 1 by 2 whole upon n. So this is our cumulative probability distribution for your normal probability plot. So this is assumed to be your ideal normal probability or normal error distribution. That is, you are having some lines, a straight line available, and your values just lies on this line, or it it is just deviated with few values over there. So this is assumed to be your ideal case when we are having a straight line or a straight function that is being available, and this straight function is having some distorted value. So when we are considering this value, it means that we are having some errors, and these errors are very small. So this is usually considered as your ideal plot for normal probability. Fine. Is it fine? Now we are going for, so let's say we are having some these are having very few deviation, then we are going for very high deviation. Yeah, any problem? No. Fine. So these are assumed to be very low deviation, or we can say there is an ideal deviation that are being available. And now we are going from some and it is assumed that your data is normally distributed available here. Now again we are having different types of deviation available. Let's say this line is my fitted line, and your data lies just like over here. So it means that you are in a very heavily tailed distribution that are being available. So when we are getting such type of residual plots, it means that uh, your distribution is not normal. So you had the assumption that your errors are normally distributed. So if you are getting such type of residual plots, it means that you are having a heavily tailed distribution, and this distribution is not normal. Again, we can have a light tail distribution. This is a heavily tailed distribution. Even we can have a light tail distribution. So this is tail again available here, so it has some high deviation, and this is tail is again having a deviation high, but most of data just moves around your line. So we can say that this is a light tail distribution. But if it is a light tail distribution, but we can say that this is again not in your normal distribution. So when we are considering the normal distribution, that it means that your data just lies over here. So it means when you are getting such type of plots, it means that you are not getting normal distribution and your assumption is not correct. And what I can say that you should not go for a linear regression, because you are not having a linear regression that are being available. So this is when you are getting this type of data, it means that your model assumptions are not good. Again, we are plotting. So this is my just an it means that, so I am just plotting this value as this is my cumulative probability versus my residual plot. So I am plotting this by, so this is my cumulative probability. What is the cumulative probability? This is pi equals to I minus 1 by 2 by n. Again, I am plotting these residuals against our fitted value. So usually when we are looking this residual plot, so this is my residual plot. So these residuals are residual versus your variables. So this is estimated variables. So again, we are going for plotting a residual value. So this is my residual values against our fitted value. So this is my fitted value. So again, we can have different types of plots available. Look at this. So this is our data. So some data lies over here, some data lies above the line, and some data lies below the line. Now while looking this data, we can say that we assume some type of structure for this data. So just look what is the structure we are getting on this residual while plotting this residual against our fitted plot. So I'm plotting this is my estimated value versus my residual. So uh, let's say this is my line where my residual is equals to 0. So this lies in between 0. Now again, we are getting some values above the line and we are getting some values below the line. So and these values usually lies in a particular straight line, or we can say that this lies in between your particular horizontal band that is being available. So when you are getting such type of data that is being available, so we assume that our model is satisfactory, and we will get some good regression model that will produce your scatter. So these are scaters. So it will produce your scaters in residual, that is you are having some roughly constant with estimated y, and all this uh, distribution of your residual is considered to be the constant, and these are plotted, or these are centered towards your ei is equals to 0. Fine. So it means that your all residuals will lie in a particular horizontal band, and the width of this band is just a constant value, and the center of this particular band is your ei equals to 0. Fine. So we can say that we are having a constant variance, and this variance is centered along ei is equals to 0. Again, we are having such type of data that are being available. So again, we are in few values lies above your ei is equals to 0, and we are having few values that lies below ei is equals to 0. So it means that you are getting some opening funnel type view. So it means that you are having some outward funnel available. So when the variance of your error increases, it means that your y increases, and your estimated y increases, or when your variance of your residual increases, your estimated y increases. Let's say this is my variance here, my variance increases, so my estimated value of y increases, or my variance decreases over here, my value of y again increases. So it means that we are having not constant variance. So if you are not having the constant variance, it means that you are having, let's say we can have a opening funnel type of structure that is being available, and this is supposed to be a not satisfactory model, or we can say that our model assumptions are not good because we had not identified what are the characteristics of data that are being available. So while when you are considering this type of graph, we can say that this is an just an unsatisfactory model. again. So we had look for a constant band, then we had look for your opening funnel, and again we are having a third type that is being available. So this is my double bow available. So this is my single bow, this is my one bow, and this is my another bow. So we are having what we can say that bow is just an dhanushakar आकृति है. तो एक धनुष line EI is above your EI and one another bow is just below your EI equals to 0. So we are getting two bows are हमारे पास दो धनुष अवेलेबल है. So when you are getting such type of data, it indicates that you are having again non-constant variance. So if you are having not constant variance, it means that you are again not having a satisfactory model. So when the value of this type of value of when you will get this type of graph, so it happens only when your y is proportional to your residual, and the value of your y lies in between 0 and 1, because your value of y lies in between some particular range. So this is in particular range, so this is considered to be an y lies in between 0 to 1, and you are having a non-constant variance. So this variance constantly changes, it changes, and so it means that we are having non-constant value of the variance. So it will give you some values. Again we are having some non-linear plot that is being available for us. So this is again we are having non-linear plot that is being available. So what it means that your other regressor variables are required in your model. So when you are having a few regressor variables, we will not consider all these values, because we need some another regressor variable. That is, we had omitted some regressor variable in your multiple regression when you are getting collinearity. So it means that you are omitting some relevant attributes from your, or relevant regressor variables from your model. So you'll get your this non-linear variable, non-linear residual plots that is being available. So a non-linear plot can be of any form. So this is just in one form of non-linear. Again you can have a non-linear form available over here. So this again considered to be unsatisfactory. So you required another variable that to be added in your model. So we can consider that we can add some extra term like some x square. We are having a model x, then we can have some x square, or we can say that we are adding a quadratic term over here. So we need to model our we need to transform our model. Let's say when we are including x square term, it means that we are going for quadratic form. But we are considering, or we are having an initial assumption that our model considered to be a linear model. So when we are adding x square, it means that you are going for quadratic model. So we have to convert our model right from your quadratic to linear. So we can go for, let's say we can transform our model. So let's say we are having this x square. So when we are applying log on both sides, so this x square comes before your x. So this 2 will become just a coefficient of your x. So it means that when you require a quadratic coefficient, quadratic regression variable, so and your basic assumption is that linear model, so then you like to choose your logarithmic transformation for your data. So this is how you can go for logarithmic transformation. Again we are having a question that why do not plot these residuals ei against your y hat and not against yi, because we are plotting on the estimated y instead of your original y for your usual model. Because when we are plotting this EI or residuals with your original value of y, so these are usually correlated, and when we are having correlated values, so we'll get again and just an elliptical structure that is जो हमने देखा भी था. So instead of having plotting this with a true value of y, we have to plot on the estimated value, because these EI and estimated y's are not correlated. So when we are going from this, so it means that they are correlated, and if they are correlated, it means that they are having a linear relationship, and we have to prove that these values are either linearly related or not linearly related. So when we are considering all these terms, it means that we are we are assuming that these are having linear relationship, and again we are um, using the data of linearly correlated, so it doesn't make some senses. So instead of having yi, you can have estimated yi. So because these are not correlated, so we'll get the better cover and better estimate of your data. So let's say my ei is just equals to, let's say when we are considering ei and yi, so we can say that our ei is just equals to beta naught plus beta 1 yi plus epsilon. So my estimated yi is just your variance, least square estimate of SEY upon the SSY. So this is how we are having the covariance of residuals plus residual and the y and upon the variance of your y. So when we are getting all those values, so we can say that we are getting a slope that is 1 minus r square, and when we are in 1 minus r square is just equals to, when we are equating this to 0, so there will be slope of 1 minus r square in your ei plots, and even there is nothing wrong with the model, so it will not plot and very good plots. So we are not going for the description of this model because it is not necessary for your syllabus. I'm just giving a hint why we are not going for plotting this ei versus yi, because again from this derivation we can say that your ei and your yi's are linearly correlated. So it is just going for the nonsense that we are uh, checking linear relationship and estimating the linear relationship like that. So now again moving your, when again plotting our residuals, again the regressor. So I am plotting my residuals with your regressor. So this is my plot available here. So this is my residual versus my regressor that are being available. So in first case we had looked for residuals, cumulative probability versus your residual. Then we'll go for in the second part we'll plot your residual versus your estimated y's. Now in this case, in the third case, we are plotting our residuals against our regressor. So this is my residual and this is my x variable or x1 or x2. Let's say we are having xj available here. So again, when we are getting such constant band that are being available, so we can assume that this is a very good assumption, and we are having a very good model or satisfactory model available. But when we are going for this uh, open funnel available here, so it means that it is not very good model for us, so it is not satisfactory, and our assumption that our errors are normally distributed, so our errors are not normally distributed, or our model assumption that is a linear relationship exists between your data, so this rejects basic assumptions. Now again plotting ei. So a third type of graph that we'll get is we are having double bow that are being available. So if you are getting again double bow, it means that we are not having a constant value that should be available for us, and thus we can say that our model is not good because we are not getting a constant variance. Why we are not getting constant variance? Because we had started with our basic assumption that we are having a constant variance, and by this residual we can check that we are not having a constant variance. So it means that it is again not validating our basic assumption, and thus we can say that our model is not good. In the third case, again when we are having a non-linear case, so this is my the fourth case, so this is my non-linear case, so it is again considered as a not good model, because and we require a higher order term, let's say x square or x cube, and we have to convert this x square or x cube to our transformation. Let's say we can either go for transformation like log of y, or again we can go for, let's say, 1 upon y. So these are some transformation that we can go depending upon what are the order of your higher terms that are being that is to be added to your regressor model when you are getting this non-linear relationship. So what are the cons related to this particular model that is being available? So when we are having this when we are considering the cons, so it does not show your the marginal effect of your xj or the response variable. Why? Because we are plotting ei versus xi. Since these xi's are these your regressor variables are linearly related with your yi, and we know that our uh, our residuals are linearly related with your yi, and therefore your regressor variable that are xi or xj is also linearly related with ei. Let's say for your linear simple linear regression and for your multiple linear regression. So it does not give a much detail, but yeah, we can consider this. But we are not having a marginal effect of particular xis on your particular data, because these are supposed to be the linearly dependent on your data. So again, we are not going for such type of relationships. Again, now let's consider this graph, and can you tell me which type of data you are, which type of graph you are getting on this type of data? Any responses? So is it good model or is it is bad model? Which type of distribution you are getting from this graph? So these are my residuals. मैं इसको बड़ा भी कर देता हूँ.
ए भाई सुन.
Yeah, just a minute. मैं इसको, yeah. So any comments on this type of residual?
Sir, double
Yeah.
bow.
Yeah, it is in double bow, so we can say that our model is not that much satisfactory for us. Even we are getting this high significant values that are being available, but we are considering only a single value. So this is a marginal value of xy, so we are not considering this plot because it suggests that we are getting a much better value, but when we are plotting this x versus residual, so it is not satisfactory. So this is how we can say that our data is not very good for us. Again, consider this plot. This is residual versus your x. So what do you mean by, what can you understand by this graph? Any responses? Any responses from anyone? This x variable 2 versus residual plot. आप बोलेंगे तो मैं इसको और बड़ा कर देता हूँ.
सर ये भी डबल बो में आएगा ना?
और ना यार, डबल वो में तो नहीं दिख रहा अभी है. This is considered as a constant value because we are having some constant range available. This is not in bow. This is not in bow. Again, this is not in bow. These are considered to be a constant value. So it suggests that your x2 variable is having some significant values with associated with your x. So when you are going from all this residual, you can check whether different variables have significant values associated with your particular model or not. So this is how we can calculate, and what you can do is that you can go for different residual plots, and let's check whether you are going for a good model or bad model. So what you can do is that you can go for, let's say you can go for this data, you can go for this type of data and just plot your residual plots and again check whether it is good or not. So again you can check from your ANOVA table and then you go for this residual plot. So let's go for some exercises and then you can betterly understand which is the better assumptions of your data. So it usually based on your particular practices. Fine. So again, I'm going from the next model. So yeah, I'm just going from test for your influential observation. So whether my observations are influential or not. So we can go for influential model. So again, let's say this is I'm going for multiple linear regression. So y is just equals to x beta plus your some error. So how we can estimate? So this is how we estimated your x transpose x inverse x transpose, and then we are having this hat matrix available. So when we are going from this hat matrix, so this hat matrix plays very important role in identifying your leverage point. So let's consider your x, usually your matrix or data that is being available. So we consider that this data contains your n number of rows and k number of attributes, because we are having k number of k plus 1 number of unknown parameters that are being available. So let's say we are having this n cross k matrix available. Fine. So this is our basic assumption. So we are considering y equals to x beta. So let's say this x is just our matrix, and this is x1, x2, x3 are different columns, and I just wrote over transpose here. So this x1 is again one column and x2 is again one column, and when we are going from transpose, it means that we are having different rows. So x1 transpose is again your row, and x2 transpose is again your row, and xn transpose is again row containing k number of columns. Fine. So when we are considering each element of your particular hat matrix, so it means that you are having xi. So this xi transpose into xi transpose and sorry x transpose x whole inverse into your particular xi, or if you are having this j, so you can go for this value. So when we are considering this hi or hij, so this hi is just your standard measure of the distance of your ith observation from your this center of x coordinate. So if you are having high value of this hi, if you are getting this high value of hi, it indicates that your ith observation is the leverage point. So again, we'll just check your hi. So you had calculated h over here. So this is your h that is available, and we are considering each item available here. So when again we are considering just a diagonal element. So these diagonal elements shows if you are having the high value of this particular hi value, it means that you are having that means that you are having a high x coordinate, and if you are having a high x coordinate, it means that you are getting for leverage points. Fine. So let's say this an average value of h is just hii summation of hii upon n. So this means that you are getting a trace of h. So again my question is, what do you mean by this trace of h? आपने linear algebra पढ़ा है. What do you mean by this trace of h? सामने फॉर्मूला दिख रहा है यार, फिर भी नहीं बोल सकते. तो ट्रेस ऑफ एच, इट मींस दैट यू आर हैविंग summation of all the diagonal items. So the summation of all diagonal item is just your trace of h. So this is a term that is used in your linear algebra. So सामने लिखा भी था यार, यहाँ पर आप पढ़ भी सकते थे. This is tr is your trace of matrix, that is the diagonal value. So this trace your diagonal matrix. So again let's say, so this trace is just equals to your rank of your particular matrix h upon n. So let's say we are having rank of matrix. So my matrix, this matrix is again, this is n cross k. So this is my n cross k matrix that is being available. So what is the dimension of your h matrix? आपके h matrix के डायमेंशन क्या होंगे? कोई कैलकुलेट करके बताएगा? लेट्स से ये आपका एक मैट्रिक्स है. सो दिस इज योर n क्रॉस k मैट्रिक्स, एंड दिस इज अगेन k क्रॉस n मैट्रिक्स. सो इसके डायमेंशन क्या होंगे? अगेन x ट्रांसपोज x के डायमेंशन क्या होंगे?
n क्रॉस n.
n क्रॉस n या k क्रॉस k? अगेन चेक. दिस इज n क्रॉस k into this is k cross n, this is k cross n, this is what? This is k cross n, this is again inverse. So inverse is again, this is square matrix. So this is again, let's say this is k cross n into n cross k. So this is k क्रॉस n into n क्रॉस k क्या मिलेगा? k क्रॉस k और n क्रॉस
Yes,
n.
sir. Sir, K
K
cross
cross
K.
K.
Okay,
K
fine.
cross K.
Fine.
K cross
So,
K.
okay, fine. So this H matrix is your K cross K matrix. So this K cross K matrix. So what is the rank of this K matrix? Again, we are हमने इसमें से मल्टी कोलिनियरिटी हटा दी थी. मल्टी कोलिनियरिटी हटा दी थी. It means that your number of columns is just equals to number of just equals to the rank of your matrix. So number of columns कितने थे? This is again K. So the rank of matrix is again K. So this is your rank of matrix. This is K. Fine, this is k upon n. So when you are going for the average value of h, it means that you are k by n values. So again, what is the general root that is being available? यहाँ दिख नहीं रहा है. You can write if you are having HII value that is greater than twice of k by n. So this is just twice of k by n. So it means that it indicates that your ith observation is possible and leverage points. So how can you identify that? Just go for your hat matrix and let's say you are having a kth rank. The rank is available is k and you are having n number of items that are being available. So n number of so n number of items. So when you are having k by n and this k by n into 2 is less than your HII value, it means that you are having a leverage point that is being available. So this is how you can identify your leverage points. And in the next chapter or in next class, we'll go for detecting our influential observations. So just in one or two procedures that are being available for us. So first is in Cook statistics, and then we'll go for difference between your fits, and then we'll go for difference between your betas, and so we'll complete this chapter by the next class. And till now, if you are having some problems, who is this? Deepesh Krishnani, very good DP. Fine.